And we're here. Welcome, 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 welcome to the first evening of what will be, hopefully, time allowing, a daily Curious Formula. I am your host, Curious Formula. And yeah, we are starting something new here. As you know, I give you a lot of content about news and the controversy of the day and politics and government and policy, particularly when it comes to education. And we do it on subject matter, that's kind of popping at the time. I give you 15 minutes and I figured I don't need that long, but we should do this daily to talk about things as they happen and they are upon us. And so that's what this is an attempt to do every night. Hopefully we'll record a quick video, no longer than 15 minutes. We talk about 3 topics. And that'll be your daily dose of Curious Formula. So check it out. If you haven't done it yet, please like and subscribe and comment on my YouTube channel. This is coming to you live from YouTube, and that is Curious Formula, at Curious Formula. One big long line. We're building it as we fly. As I told you all, if you follow my content here and on TikTok, which is Curious_Formula, please go there, subscribe, like, and comment as well. We do a lot of lives there. We got more supporters there than we do here, but we're building it as we fly. As I talked to you in my last piece of content, we're bringing a new team on towards the end of July, and in August, we're going to be flying, looking like a luxury beamer that we actually are. We're going to get the bells and whistles to match the content. So stay tuned. Let everybody else know about this as well. So the 3 topics we're going to talk about today. If not Joe, then who is our first topic. So folks, we've been ablaze, and if you haven't had your head stuck in the sand like an ostrich, you know about the blowout and the blowback we've had about Joe Biden's terrible, horrific, game-changing, poor performance of a debate that he did with Donald Trump not too long ago. And, the Democrats have just been bedwetting, have been crying, have been moaning, have been, false reports about people asking him to drop out, and then George Clooney's coming out and all the stars. I mean, this is just another example, if you follow my content, of me saying, as I've always said, that Democrats just are soft nationally, right? We just love to just cling to our insecurities and our anxieties and cry, while the Republicans just lock up their arms, lock shoulder to shoulder, making sure there's not a piece of sunlight that can get in between their shoulder blades as they march towards the goal of getting elected. And how do we know they will do anything and everything and to get their man elected, and everything else is just a sideshow or distraction? It's because Donald Trump was convicted of 34 counts and he's now a felon. You think that would stop the Republicans? Have you heard any Republican asking Donald Trump to drop out of the race? And he's a convicted felon. And Joe Biden has a bad debate performance, and we're like Blue Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. And this is what we're up to. So, folks, no problem. If you're a Democrat and you believe Joe Biden is too old, that he can't lead, and the sky is going to fall, then and that existential threat to democracy and women's right to choose and the Supreme Court and everything else, and he has to be stopped by any means necessary, you got to throw Joe by the wayside and put somebody else in. My simple question to you is, who are you going to get? I mean, let's be honest about this, folks. Who are the choices out there with 3 months left, because it's not really 4, well, it's 4, but 3 months left before the general election, that you're going to change the entire strata for another candidate that no one's going to know? How is the average American going to get to know this candidate in 3.5 months? Have you thought about who that candidate is going to be? Have you thought about how you wheel them out? What's going to happen at the convention? Are you going to have just a freeing of all the delegates, and you're going to have a process where you decide the nominee then? What if the majority of delegates don't like the person that comes out of that whole decision, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. And let's be frank about it. If the candidate's anybody but Kamala Harris, right, and somebody else to be the VP, then you're going to have a walkout and you're going to have a boycott of the general election by black women, which just happens to be the most reliable part of the Democratic base nationwide. Just ask Joe Biden circa 2020 if he doesn't believe that. And so if it's not going to be Kamala Harris, who the heck are you going to introduce to the United States of America and to the voting electorate to win? Gavin Newsom? No one knows him outside of California. He's got his own situation and troubles. Gretchen Whitmer? Again, great idea coming out of a battleground state that Joe Biden is within the margins of losing, but nobody knows her. And again, the process. So all these bedwetters, George Clooney and all these other people who are saying, we got to get somebody besides Joe. Who? Can you all agree on who? And how are we supposed to get that person nominated? And how are we supposed to get the donors to get behind this person? And how are we supposed to beat Donald Trump in states where Gretchen Whitmer or whoever is not even on the ballot? Spare me, folks. If you want to get rid of Joe, then you have a responsibility to picking somebody who's willing to do it. And if it's not Kamala Harris, and I heard somebody come up with a good idea, I thought, if you're going to replace Joe, and it has to be Kamala Harris to be the nominee, then put somebody like the governor of Pennsylvania on her ticket. It might be balanced. It might work. But that's my biggest problem with these people who are saying it can't be Joe, because you don't know who it can be, and then that makes the whole question moot. Second thing we're going to talk about real quickly is Amber Rose is going to be at the RNC, the Republican National Convention. Folks, I had to pick on Joe Biden for a little bit there. I had to pick on these Democrats for a little bit. Now I'm going to pick on the Republicans. You know how we do it here. We're equal opportunity offenders. We're equal opportunity people who are like, what in the blue blazes and what in the hell is going on here in America between these two parties? So Amber Rose, D-list celebrity. You can't even call her an actress or singer or whatever. She's a D-list celebrity, more famous for being on people's arms and being sort of like good looking than of any real talent or of note. Yes, there's been podcasts and she gives a great interview and she's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm sure she's talented in some kind of way. Not here to talk about that. But the Republican Party is the party of the family. They've essentially deified Donald Trump. If you look at some of the things that he is, the one and all those kinds of monikers. But the group that has been the most passionate in supporting Donald Trump, been his foundation support, have been evangelical Christians, the white nationalists, some Christian white nationalists, as some people have defined them and have named them. I don't go that far, but definitely fundamentalists, Protestants from the South primarily and Midwest are the biggest Trump supporters and, in my opinion, apologists as a Christian speaking for this. And so I'm just wondering, to all the good Christians, the one who believe that anybody who votes Democrat is going to hell and supports Satan and the like, how are you squaring off the convention, the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee? It'll be next week, inviting Amber Rose to be a speaker. Let's just look at the spreadsheet. I'm sorry, the sheet about who she is and what she's done. Amber Rose is the inventor of the slut walk. You remember that, right? That, the wonderful movement she started that lasted for about, 2 weeks, that praised, women walking and being sluts, right? And having one-night stands and being promiscuous and being in control of their body sexually and the whole nine, right? That liberal agenda that you all said Hollywood is putting forth on our young people. Well, it's coming to speak at the Milwaukee convention. She's also somebody who said that she came to support Donald Trump because she did the research. Anybody that does research should come to the conclusion that Donald Trump is the right guy. I know some of the people who support Donald Trump will say, that's exactly right. Guess what she also did research about and came to the conclusion that nobody should be able to refute if they've done the same research she's done. Come close to evangelicals. That there is no God. I tell you, Amber did a little research and she found two things that are prophetic. She found out that Donald Trump is the right guy to be president, and she also found out that there is no God. Doing the same research. I wonder if she used the same guides and books and data and research. I don't know. But that's who's coming. Also, tattoo across the head, been married, dated a million times, have had children out of wedlock. The point I'm trying to raise is this. I've got no problem with Amber Rose. I'm actually a fan, right? And this is where people get it mixed up, right? You can be a fan of someone in their entertainment life and in their roles that they take on, to make fun and have fun, right? I'm all for that. But that doesn't mean I have to take anybody seriously. And I make the same kind of joke about Amber Rose telling you to vote for Donald Trump and coming to the RNC with all the all the baggage that she brings, right, in terms of the family that the Republicans say that they are all about. And I make the same juxtaposition of Cardi B, saying we should vote for Joe Biden, or saying that this time she's not voting, she's not supporting anybody like that, or Sexy Red supporting Donald Trump. I mean, it's already bad enough that we look, that it seems like Hollywood is bad, and that element is bad when it supports Democrats, but then we make exclusions and excuses for when they support the Republican nominee. But the reality is this, folks, and I'll tie this up in a nice bow. You shouldn't be listening to any athlete. You should not be listening to any sports person. George Clooney telling Biden to go, or Amber Rose telling she likes Donald Trump, to make your decision about who you should vote for. What you should be doing is based on what your community is going through, what these people have done in office, what they've said on the stump about what they plan on doing, and then judge whether those results actually are good for you, good for your community, and good for the people that you care about, like your family, like where you were born and raised, like your parents in the twilight of their lives or the twilight of your life. Are they going to be good for your children? Those are the things, and those are the only things you should be using as a barometer to decide who you're going to support for president. I'm off my soapbox. Last thing I want to do is I want to talk to you lastly about let me make sure I write it down here. The Alliance of Sahel States. Now, some of you may be like, what is that about? We're talking a little bit internationally here, and I want to spend some time talking about this because this is a phenomenon that's happening in 3 African nations that people are just not talking about. And I get the feed because I do. My algorithm does not need to be broken. That's one of the things we say here. Your algorithm needs to be broken if you only get one type of ideology, if you only get one type of a way of looking at things. My algorithm does not need to be broken because I get things from the right and from the left, from revolutionaries to conservatives, from Protestants and Catholics to atheists to Muslims to 5% Nation to Nation of Islam to Black Hebrews. I get it all, right? I get pro-abortion, I get pro-life, I get women's right to choose. I get all of it, right, coming across my headline. So here's what comes across my headline that you need to know about. So we talk about Africa. And I know people on the right love to criticize, nothing's happening good in Africa. It means you've never been to any country in Africa. It means you've never been to any nation. It means you've never looked at GDP or GNP of any of these nations. A lot of African nations are doing quite well. But one thing that they all have in common is that when they broke away from colonialism, and we all give dap and credo and kudos to Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba and all the other great leaders who broke from colonization, is that while they got control of their politics, they never got control of their economies, never got control of a private business. And in many ways, those colonial nations are still their masters, still economically their masters, and still demanding certain trade agreements. And when you look at the International Monetary Fund and the International Bank giving them dollars and loans that they can never pay back, almost like mafia, also kind of payments and underworld payments, structures in terms of loan sharking basically to African nations. But something recently has happened with 3 countries led by Burkina Faso's president Ibrahim Traore, who met with the leaders of Mali and Niger and Niger. I always get that pronunciation incorrectly. They're forming an alliance of Sahel States Confederation. And what is different about this than, say, the Pan-African organizations that have started over many years? They are breaking away and throwing out their countries that were Western aligned over the past few years. And President Traore just gave a speech. We talked about other African nations who were not joining them were basically house Negroes, hearkening back to Malcolm X. Folks, this is somebody that we need to protect because we know how the CIA, the FBI, and other foreign international corporations and whatnot go up against leaders who show independence, who throw off colonizers and want to chart their own economic independence in their own economic way, separate apart even politically from the communist versus democracy. They are unaligned, not aligned, just aligned to the people that they serve. Let's watch as they develop their countries in a different way than neocolonialism. Subscribe, like, and comment below. I'm your host, Curious Formula. Stay curious. Remember, think. It ain't illegal yet.